Hi, I'm Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics. Today I have a fun project for you. I'm going to teach you how to make the Snail's Trail block. This has been around a long time, but I have a fun new tool that's going to help us be even more accurate. Before I jump into that, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the other projects that are on set with me today, including the Ultimate Toddler Bib. This is another Shabby Fabrics video that I would encourage you to see. If you have little ones in your life, or maybe there's a baby shower coming up, this would make an expectant mother absolutely thrilled. Who doesn't need a lot of bibs in the house, especially as babies grow into toddlers and they're just messy. So again, that's the Ultimate Toddler Bib. These fabrics are all from Babe in the Woods by Maywood Studio. It's a wonderful flannel collection. It's just wonderful quality fabric. It's soft and soften your baby skin, which I always love. We also have coordinating pillows that go with the Snail's Trail quilts. One on my left and one on my right. Again, those are coordinating projects. These are available as a kit, as well as the toddler bib. The project behind me will also be available as a kit, but today's tutorial will be specifically covering the quilts behind me. With the pillows, those are prefused laser applique shapes, so if you do buy the kit, you don't have to worry about any cutting and tracing of applique shapes. We've already done that for you. I love tools that help me be more successful. And absolutely, I can say the Square on a Square 8-inch trim tool by Creative Grids is definitely made this process so fun and made the blocks so accurate that they just sew together and the quilt looks beautiful. So I'm excited to show you how to use that. Of course, it comes with instructions, but I want to tell you there's also some printed instructions on the tool itself, and that is telling you what size to cut your triangles. So I have those cut ahead of time, so I won't go into those specific measurements. Those are available on the ruler, and they'll also be available on the download. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, I'd encourage you to do that right now. There's a download available for this project. You definitely want to grab that. Available in the box below, just click on that and you can download that. Or if you're on the Shabby Fabrics homepage at the very bottom, there's free downloads. Click there and there's this download and lots of others. There's lots of inspiration on the Shabby Fabrics website. Let's jump into the project. The first thing that the trim tool tells you in the included instructions is to go ahead and make a 4-patch using 2-inch strips or 2-inch squares. I've done that ahead of time and that's just ready to go. We will be using the tool in various stages. There's different blocks and you use them at different times. I'll guide you through the process. The first thing you do when you have your 4-inch, your 4-patch is you're starting here and it says trim 2.5-inch piece square. That's where you're going to start using this particular tool. And you can see it's got a vertical dashed line and a horizontal dashed line. And you're just going to want to center that right over top of your seam allowances. And you'll begin to trim. Now I'm using a spinning mat today because it keeps me safe and I don't have to pick up the fabric to actually trim it. I think that keeps things more accurate and I'm definitely keeps me safer. I'm not cutting underneath my arm or cutting in an odd angle, which you can be tempted to do if you don't have a spinning mat. So we'll trim that away and then I'll simply turn that tool. So again, I'm lining up with my grid here, my seams, and once I'm there, I will spin my spinning mat. And here. Now, I'm going to bring out my block. Let me show you where I'm headed with this. Being able to see kind of the target will help you see how we're going to get to that goal. Before I forget, I want to mention, notice how this block has this at the top and this at the bottom. You can imagine this now matters. It's not like I'm going to make 16 of this exact same block and it all just clicks together in this quilt. It's not like that. And let me point out what I mean. Here, this block actually goes here, like this. If I put that same block here and just rotate it, notice that's blue here and this is green. So please do grab that download. I am going to show you how to make the Snail's Trail block, but where specific fabrics go is going to vary depending on where that block is in the quilt. So I just want to mention that to you so that You don't make 16 exactly like this, and then all of a sudden the quilt's not looking right from a pictorial standpoint. I'll guide you through that as we get a little bit further. So now that we are at the stage here, again, I'll bring my block out. Notice how I have the green on the top left. I will now grab, based on my instructions that are included on my ruler that's already telling me how many triangles to cut and what size, I will lay that on here. See how that's green and this is green? Now I'm doing it right. If you have blue on the top left, that's going to be wrong. It's going to be, your block would actually spin the other direction. Let's not do that. I want you to have the green on the top left as you're looking straight down the 4-patch, and lay that right sides together. And you'll have that point go right down your seam allowance. And you'll simply turn that over. I like to make sure that my seam is up on top so that as I'm sewing along, it doesn't accidentally flip on me. So I would actually spin this over, turn it over, and I'll sew the 1/4-inch seam allowance here, and then press to the outside. And I'll repeat on the other side, pressing to the outside. And I've done that ahead of time, and that's what that would look like right here. That's what that's going to look like. And no surprise there, right? So we're going back to our pictorial display. This is kind of where we are right now. Now you can see we need to add the opposite sides, so here comes the blue. I'm not going to trim this away right now because this would create bias right here. Again, I will place this right sides together and flip, put in a pin or two, sew a 1/4-inch seam allowance, press to the outside, and repeat that here. Let's bring that out. I've done that ahead of time. And now we're at this stage. Before I go on, I want to trim this bulk, especially flannel. It gets very bulky. Now that I'm at this stage, I'm actually going to leave those kind of tucked in. You can either use your Kai scissors and go ahead and trim, or I'll show you in a later step how you could actually use your trim tool, and then you don't have to use scissors at all. So it's just an option. And pressing to the outside. We've already done that. This is where we begin to use the trimming tool on our Creative Grid square and square. So I'm going to press that again so it's nice and open. We know we started to trim the center here. The rest of the ruler, this says block A1, block A2, block B1, and block B2. So you will begin with your block A1 and proceed to block A2, B1, B2, and so on and so forth. Notice how block A1 is still circling. That white line is still lining up around that box of that 4-patch that was in the center. Press down and trim. Now I will simply move my tool so that it exposes the other 2 sides that need to be trimmed. I've got the white box bracketing my 4-patch center, pressing down. Let's keep referencing our block and making sure, does this look right? This is what we're building so far. So you can see the swirl is starting to happen. So we added our green, we added our blue, now we go back to our green. Just like we did before, because we want to keep swirling away, that piece will go here, right sides together. Now my target is I'm just kind of trying to target the middle of this. I don't want to be off askew like this. I'm trying to go right through the middle of that little 4-patch that little square right there, kind of hit the middle of it. Again, I would flip this, pin this, sew my 1/4 inch seam allowance, flip to the outside, flip to the outside, and I'll do the same with the other, with the blue, which I've done here. So we're now at the same stage. We've been here before. Let me press the outside. We all understand that. Now we move on to the next phase of our ruler. And actually, before I even do that, I really want to trim that bulk away. Here's where I can, again, you can use your Kai or simply use your trim tool as a straight edge, and then you can just clean off those edges at the same time. So that's another option for you. If you just can't find your scissors or you don't want to grab them today, and you can just use your tool for a straight edge, that works for me as well. Definitely want to get bulk away, especially with flannel. Definitely is bulkier than regular cotton fabric. All right, we know we've already used block A1. Now we're going to go to block A2. And so now this frame will fit around our now larger center here. I'm going to press down, making sure I'm lined up. Trim. Trim. There's my frame. All right. Let's see if we're on target. How are we doing here? Let's look. That's right. That didn't look quite right. See how we're starting to swirl away from the center here? So we're back to adding the next round, and you can see this green needs to be here because you're swirling away. And that's going to be here, and these will be here, and those will be here. And you're applying them in the same fashion we did with the next layer. Now I'm going to bring that out, and I'll show you how to use the next layer, the next part of our ruler. I would normally trim those little dog ears off, but just to save us a little bit of time, well, you know what? I want to do that because that bulk, we just don't want that bulk. Let's trim that away. One of the other things I love about this ruler is that it includes instructions for making other blocks as well. The Snail's Trail block is just one of the blocks that the square on square 8-inch trim tool can make. So I love that when a tool can help me do multiple things, and I can do multiple projects with the same tool. So I really do think that Creative Grids, they really think their rulers through. Wonderful, wonderful rulers. So we're now at this stage. Let's make sure our site picture looks just like theirs. Where I'm now getting ready to use, we've used A1 and A2. Now we're down to B1. So now we have our wider footprint, which makes sense. Our center's growing. And now I'm trimming, framing here. And we're just going to do the same thing. Now it's getting so big, I have to move that out of the way. So let me make sure I'm on my B1. Sometimes when I lift up my ruler, I get a little bit disoriented of where am I on this? And then I like to, what Mama said, what Mama say? You know, measure twice, cut once. So I like to double check. I need to be here. Yes, because now that opens up these two sides that need to be trimmed. I might have moved ever so slightly. Let's see. I think I did. Okay. So we're here right now. This is where you will definitely want to refer to your download. You want to refer to your download for all of your blocks to make sure everything's going together as planned. But now we'll be adding this up here and this down here. And that is for the top and bottom blocks. The corner blocks and the side blocks are not necessarily this. So again, you'll be referring to your download to make sure you're putting the fabrics in the right position. I'll be taking that block, we've already sewn that together, and that's your final trim on this. So we've done A1, A2, B1, and of course, as you would expect, now we'll be using B2, framing that nicely. The thing I do love so much, I'm just going to trim this up here. What's neat about this one is I don't have to move it. I get to just trim around all four sides. This is when the spinning mat is absolutely gold. It's just I don't have to move my body. I don't have to move my fabric. I'm just going to trim around all four sides of this. But as I was saying, with blocks where you get to square up like this, the thing I love about things like that is when you start sewing the blocks together in a quilt, they just, like I said, they just click together like a puzzle. And I love how accurate and how precise the quilt looks. So yes, it is an extra step, but I think the finished results are absolutely worth it. So that's all there really is to making a snail's trail block using the square on square 8-inch trim tool. I'd love to get a thumbs up if you learned something today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on our next video.